Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
What?
Judas! So you're stealing our money, huh?
What's the matter, Mrs. Terry? It's not what you think, huh? This is my money!
Do you take me for a fool? You will return
No
every
way.
penny
Let go.
you've stolen.
Let go,
Give
Mrs.
it
Terry.
to me! Ah!
You're watching
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
When you get news that your loved one has passed away after 20 days, it's certainly a blow to your heart, to your mind, and to the rest of the family. Today, 21 days later, the world mourns the loss of all the passengers that were on board the Malaysian flight. Today, Morning at NTV remembers you. Let's get started with the question of the day. Good morning. It's certainly a day of sadness that help us answer that question. And help us post it on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. You can also tweet it at Morning at NTV. Also send us a text to 6565 and tag us on Twitter at Kasiate, at MB Gold, to Joel Senyonyi, at Mebkeb, who is standing by at the International Conference Center, who was Uganda's president between 1985 and 1986. Now let's cross over to Mabel with the stories that are making headlines. Later, the press review with the usual suspects. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, Brian, and welcome to the show that gets you started, whether it's cold or hot. It's a bit chilly this morning, but again, welcome to Morning at NTV. Here are some of the stories making headlines. The death toll from Saturday's Lake Albert accident has risen to 109. The U.S. government is sending elite commandos to help hunt for Connie, and the government provides security to a family of a 17-year-old girl who was murdered last week.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
The death toll from Saturday's accident in which a boat carrying Congolese refugees capsized on Lake Albert has risen to 109. By press time yesterday, Marine Police recovered 84 bodies from the 25 of yesterday. Survivors say the boat was carrying at least 250 people, but only 45 survived the accident. Jingo Francis reports.
People continue to flock Kitebele landing site in their hundreds
as they try to digest news of Saturday's fatal boat accident. This has a boat carrying Congolese refugees from a settlement camp in Changwari capsized in Lake Albert.
So far there are the 83 dead bodies. They are on the way from Montoroko proceeding to Bundubuji.
By this evening, the Marine Police had retrieved another 84 bodies, bringing the death toll to 109. Bundubujo District Police Commander says the process of handing over the corpses to the Congolese authorities has started. Security, he adds, has been tightened.
Yesterday, the 19 bodies which we received were handed over by yesterday, and we are still on alert waiting for more dead bodies. No, these are Congolese nationals, and it is the responsibility of Congolese government to bury their own people. That's why we coordinated with them to come and pick their dead bodies. I think for us as police, we are here to provide security to Ugandans and within the boundaries of Uganda. We are supposed to protect people and their lives and property. That's why we are here to ensure that there is peace on the Ugandan side.
This is Bundubujo's hospital, where bodies are being treated before they can be handed over to the Congolese government. But reliable sources here have informed us that the hospital is overwhelmed by the number of the corpses. As police continue the search for the missing people, the accident survivors have recounted their ordeal.
Ndio mara tunaona mtumbu inaanza kucheza. Tukisa sema mtumbu ile iko nacheza na muna kani ati hapana, msifikiri tu, mnyamaze. Mwache kutingizana. Tunakuwa kimya. Tunaenda tena kuyongeana hivi. Achani mtumbu ni egeuke. Mara mwena inainama hivi kipande moja. Sie bote mara moja tunaangukia ndani ya mai.
Sie bote mikono tunakamatilia, tukisha kamatilia ile mtumbu kuseme itisimame tena inajagoloze tena tunaanguka mumai. Ngambo yoku banaka tunakamata tunafanya nini bure tena inajigeuza tena inaanguka.
It's believed that the boat was carrying 200 people, but only 45 survived the accident.
Tulikuwa 200 na 15. Magana 250. Na bamuziko.
Going by the survivors' testimonies, 96 people are still missing. Police yesterday say the boat was carrying 92 people, contrary to the number of the bodies retrieved by this evening. The survivors told us that they rather die in Congo than continue suffering in Changwari refugee camp.
Tunateseka kule Changwari kabisa. Njaa na magonjwa. Angao basi nikufie kule kwa zuu mimi naisa teseka sana. Nikuwe wa kukufa angao basi nikufe na mimi naenda basi.
Mtu hawezi kuishi bila kukula. Njala. Mkupokea bakasema bati leo nje mtapata chakula. Nilikuwa napata 6 kilo ya mihindi ya kukauka. Kopo 12. Ile nje balikuwa nasema restauration ya nini ya mwezi moja.
These are sad stories indeed, and the survivors have told it all. There is a big crisis, and there are serious reasons as why these people are moving out of the camps. The two governments need to come together and resolve this crisis. Jingo Francis, NTV, Bundubujo District.
How very sad. The U.S. government is sending elite commandos and 4 sophisticated military aircrafts to Uganda to help hunt for Joseph Kony, the fugitive Lord's Resistance Army rebel leader. The deployment will help African Union troops capture the rebels in the jungles of the Central African Republic, where they are believed to be hiding. The U.S. Embassy Public Affairs Officer confirmed the deployment. Maurice Otrol reports.
In 2011, the U.S. government sent 100 special forces to the Central African Republic to help UPDF troops to hunt down Joseph Kony, the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army rebels. But Kony and his soldiers managed to elude the troops in the vast jungles of Central African Republic. The US government, that has a reputation of relentlessly pursuing terrorists, is now sending more elite commandos and high-tech military aircrafts to help capture the rebels. The U.S. Embassy's Public Affairs Officer Daniel Travis confirmed the development.
Although they are U.S. military personnel, they're not, these are people who crew the aircraft, fly the aircraft, they're the crews on the aircraft, and then support the aircraft. And they're here for a limited time. I can tell you what kind of aircraft it is. The primary type of aircraft that's coming that will help us the most is called a CV-22 Osprey. It's an airplane that's able to take off almost vertically.
Travis says the pursuit of the rebels has been plunged by numerous challenges.
Moving around that area quickly, efficiently and safely is difficult because there are no roads, so they need airlift. And so we've had the opportunity to use these aircraft for a short time, and we're taking it.
The UPDF spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Podiankunda, hailed the development and noted that it would help boost the current team that is already on ground.
They are here to support the mission as agreed in the mandate, but not to go combat at all. The UPDF has the ability to get these guys wherever they go.
Lieutenant Colonel Nkunda says the development of the aircraft shall greatly improve the force's operation.
With this airlift capability, you can be sure that we're going to achieve a lot in terms of how fast we can airlift personnel. And
some observers who have been calling for Kony's capture have kept asking why the intervention took so long given the involvement of the U.S. Special Forces.
About maybe 200, 250 people, as I said, in a jungle the size of France.
Yeah.
You know, that we have interesting technology, but we don't have magic. You know what I mean? These things take a lot of coordinated work, and it's not just about the technology involved, it's about the people that's involved, it's about the networks that you build, it's about the cooperation.
Daniel Travis says the hunters yielded quite a number of results.
The number of people, last 2 years, the number of people killed by the LRA has dropped something like 73%.
Yeah.
The long-term abductions are way down. Right now when we see LRA abductions, they tend to be, they take a few people to carry things for them for the day and then they let them go.
U.S. forces will remain in support role helping African Union forces search for Konya and his soldiers who are blamed for a string of atrocities. Konya is wanted by the International Criminal Court at The Hague for leading a campaign of rape, mutilation and murder. He's also accused of kidnapping boys to serve as child soldiers and girls as sex slaves. U.S. forces are equipped for combat but are banned from engaging LRA fighters unless in self-defense according to their rules of engagement. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
The government has started providing security to the family of a senior 6 student murdered last Thursday. This as the alleged killers of Joan Namazi continue to call and intimidate family members amid police investigations.
Security has now been beefed up at home of a family struggling to make sense of what motivated the killing of the 17-year-old girl and their new life of living under threat. 5 days since the gruesome murder of Joan Namazi, her alleged killers are yet to be arrested. Family members say those suspected of strangling her have been taunting her father, Godfrey Luanga, with cold.
But when he's saying that he was sent by somebody, so if we pay that money, you disclose that person.
The latest call came in at 11 a.m. this Monday morning. The alleged killers are now demanding a face-to-face meeting with Joan's relatives as police remains tight-lipped on the progress of the investigations.
The people who carried out this murder look, in all ways, they look to have planned it in a sophisticated manner, and therefore police also has to be sophisticated to get to them, and that is what we are trying to do.
The Ministry of Gender, Youth and Labour Development, Mary Karoro Kurut, visited the family at Tega village in Nabingo off Masaka Road to offer some reprieve. While the minister acknowledged the several cases of murders in the country, she used the opportunity to urge the public to get involved in the search for Joan's killers that are still at large.
Not an isolated incident. We have had similar cases. As government, we want to appeal to the public. Please give information. Do not keep quiet.
Very sad there. We now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop for the rest of the program as the press review continues.
It's the 25th day of March 2014, exactly 9 months before Christmas. Do your mathematics. That means perhaps today is the day that Jesus Christ was conceived. And indeed, from the Christian calendar, it's the Annunciation Day, the day that Angel Gabriel appeared before the Virgin Mary to inform her that she will beget God's only beloved Son. Yes, we're coming to you fresh from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel on Annunciation Day. Yes, with the Morning at NTV Press Review this morning. My name is Simon Kasiate. Joel Senyonyi to my right and Brian Molondo to my left, all looking suave and debonair. Good morning, folks.
Good morning. I'm impressed. You seem to know your Bible real good.
Well, there is a
letter. Can I give you a very quick quiz? What does 2 Moses chapter 5 verse 15 say?
Well, I am in the Mormon Bible here this morning, and I will not diverge myself into that direction. Well, we're looking at the Daily Monitor this morning. No copy of the Red Paper, unfortunately, perhaps on its way here. Tears, pain as both death toll hits 108. Now, of course, let's not forget that we had a tragedy on the waters of Lake Albert, where a boat containing over 200 Congolese refugees leaving one of the refugee camps in Uganda back to their country met their death. Only 45 survivors reported. The rest are still being picked up, form of corpses from the bottom of the lake. It's playing out in the Daily Monitor front page.
You know, this is a story that's playing out quite often. Many times we hear, be it Lake Victoria, whatever the case might be, on a boat, many people thereon without life jackets and that kind of thing. Of course, you'll say, well, these people are very broke for starters. You know, how will they get their way through life jackets and stuff like that? But regulation, I think we're not doing that at all.
But I'm imagining a boat containing 250 people, including their luggage. How big was this boat? I want to believe it's one of these wooden canoes that was being powered by a little autoboard engine.
And many of them are holy. They have holes.
Well, there we go. So it is a story that calls on us to be a bit more vigilant with the way we conduct our lives. And I think, well, it's a tragedy and we cannot gloat over it, but clearly there must have been an element of human error. And then one can always argue that indeed these people were living in squalor, and any form of transport take them to the promised land, so to speak, would have been very welcome. But see, these are the repercussions. However, we're in a much better position than the Malaysians, whose plane has gone missing for weeks on end in a place where technology is so high-tech. But at least we have 82 bodies.
Discovered it actually crashed in southern Indian Ocean.
Where is the debris? You see, no one is holding on to something.
The black box.
Where?
The black box will soon be discovered.
Well, someone has argued that if the black box is never destroyed under any adverse weather or other...
It's rare that it does get destroyed.
Then why don't you make the entire plane a black box of some sort?
I'm told if it's done that way, it will be too expensive to make and it also can't be flown because it becomes so heavy.
So heavy.
Well, the physician in Joel this morning, remember him. The US president recently said that with the signing of the anti-homosexuality bill, the otherwise very good relations between Uganda and the US were on the verge of getting complicated. And in fact, it's reported that the US ambassador to Uganda say that they are more than willing to channel their development cooperation and aid to other countries which seem to abide by, you know, the respect of basic fundamental human rights, including the respect of homosexuals and the like, which seems to be a different case with Uganda. However, this morning in the Daily Monitor, there's a report that Obama sends more men and planes to hunt corn.
You know, someone posted a map of the world and had all these, you know, blue pins and yellow pins and green pins and said, wherever you see pins, America is there. And it was the whole world. So, and someone was saying, you know what, America is bluffing. So they can never...
So are we saying that Obama is here on an altruistic move to help Ugandans get rid once and for all the scourge of Joseph Kony?
Well, they've been saying that quite too often. When Kony was mutilating people in northern Uganda, right now is not so big a threat. Yeah, once in a while you hear they've attacked, you know, one or two people.
That's in the Central African Republic.
Yes. There you go. But when he was massacring people here, no one did a thing about it. When genocide was, on rampage in Rwanda, these guys were all shut out. They usually wait towards the end, and that is why there's a suspicion, like you're saying. Could it be that there's some ulterior motive? The other day when they went to the Albertine region, were thinking, could it be that they're actually after her? Or well, maybe not. But why now, anyway?
Well, and then
they are sending 100 people.
Yeah, well,
to look after people who are in a jungle, I'm told, the size of about France. Or
well, they are special forces. So
special forces, but I'm sure they are not here really to exercise any due diligence with regard to the kind of experience they have. They're actually here to learn. Let them admit that they are here on a learning mission, and Joseph Kony is teaching them.
Guerrilla warfare.
Absolutely. Right. But talking about Kony and the issues around him, there is an interesting gentleman that has been in the country, the former prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Jose Luis Moreno Ocampo.
Mourinho.
Don't say Mourinho,
they're all the same. This was
this guy
it sends bad signals.
Now here Ocampo is quoted in the Daily Monitor saying he will represent LRA war victims at the ICC. Now, again, I want to ask, was Moreno in this country on altruistic reasons, or he was here looking for business?
I wonder, he is former ICC prosecutor.
Yes.
He indicted Kony, contributed to that about 10 years ago. We are yet to see that happen. Private business, you could say, because
he's on private business,
brought him
and
here?
then he's here being guarded by the Uganda police force who are being paid off our taxpayer.
Yeah, that's
looking at international. Well, I don't use the word international comment, but clearly I don't really.
Come again.
Well, anyway, let's wait and see whether he's going to present this.
No, but he's here. Yes.
He was here under the auspices of the Invisible Children.
Yes.
And for the most part, we know what all these civil society and NGO and non-government organizations are all about. It's about raising profile and, of course, presenting themselves as a formidable force where they operate to get more funding. So I think I see some dollar signs in the eyes of this whole escapade of Ocampo in this country, as opposed to delivering justice to the many people of Uganda. Where was he, indeed, like we want to ask, when Bologna took place?
Well, many years later, people
and is he trying to claim that there are no Ugandan lawyers good enough to represent these victims in the International Criminal Court?
After all, we saw him having a bloody nose with the Uhurus and Ruto. I suspect
is it wrong for
it wasn't him, it was his successor.
To care for the North. Invisible Children is literally the
that word is abused a lot nowadays.
Let me say this. Invisible Children is literally the face of the war in northern Uganda. And it helped
it came out after how long?
Well, no matter how long it came out, but how long did we even, us in Kampala, know that there was a war?
Well, we did. We're just living in denial. We're comfortable here in Kampala. All is well. And,
because before you cross Karuma, things seem to be fine. But Invisible Children took the message out there. Whatever the video caused, the guy, went berserk, the guy who made the video.
But do you realize these were young men just on an adventure and somehow landed in northern Uganda, and to them that was a minefield.
And apparently they were raking in quite a bit of money. But look, you see,
it's all about
the bit about politicians who knew what was going on do about it. Okay, young
we can fault them too.
We can fault the politicians, but then you cannot fault people like John Baptist Andama, the Archbishop of Gulu at Diocese, who, for all his efforts while at the pulpit, ensure that this war comes to an end.
I think he even lost his wife to that war.
Exactly, he was part of the delegation that went to negotiate peace with
these
are people who are the unsung heroes of this, not Johnny come lately. It's like
who is
coming out to win the glory of a defunct LRA. I mean, let's be honest here. They're coming long after the action. But anyway, that is playing out in the Daily Monitor this morning. Now, there's an interesting development on the Ugandan media scene. The government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Information and National Guidance.
You want to say national misguidance?
I think for the most part they do more misguidance than guidance. Otherwise, what would explain why the Honorable Minister of Information never shows up here to explain two things. One, that media houses must organize patriotic programming and must abide by government programming and earmark some airtime to present national anthem, coat of arms and all that for Ugandans to watch. Why couldn't she come here and articulate these issues to us? I'm giving a free estimate. Why can't she come and be our guest? Never mind how many times we've tried to reach out to her using different modes. How come she's not here to explain to we the journalists and our viewers and listeners as to what 200,000 shillings as subscription fee to be a Ugandan journalist, or a practicing certificate for that matter. Never mind that people have gone through school, paid school fees to become journalists. They go through a blast furnace to become top journalists, as many are, and then you are imposing a fee on them. Why can't she come and articulate what this is supposed to do to the quality of journalism in Uganda?
And it's not just many government officials.
She prefers the comfort of the stage-managed arena at the national media, the Uganda National Media Center, as opposed to sitting on a dais like this one and having a proper discourse with people like ourselves. And I find this is a travesty. So anyway,
it is. But you see, many government officials oftentimes they snub, you know, either radio presenters or TV presenters. You invite them for a show, and last minute, 5 minutes to the show, they call and say, "Hi, you see, I've been called to State House," and that kind of thing. Well, could it be probably that some things are very difficult to defend?
To explain.
You know, so they think, what will while I talk about this whole patriotism thing? You know,
Absolutely.
myself, I'm not very patriotic, and that kind of thing. So I think, so maybe that could be the issue. But if they're saying they want airtime, they should stand up and be counted.
Absolutely. Now here we are. Now, of course, some experts are warning government against putting in place such prohibitive and to an extent inhibitive fees that may make the best of journalists out there unable to practice their trade. And one of the experts quoted in this story is Dr. Peter Mwesige, a former executive editor of the Daily Monitor, who is now with the African Center for Media Excellence, saying that indeed, if you turn your attention to the numbers, you will be missing the point. The picture is on the law itself. The question is it a legitimate law? Isn't it a law that's out to stifle the basic principles of freedom of expression, speech, and the like that we journalists tend to enjoy?
I'm told in Uganda there is freedom of speech, but there is no freedom after speech.
Well, but there is always freedom of movement and there's no trespass. Whatever about developments in the media industry, Daily Monitor is out to get a little bit much better. You remember yesterday we were talking about the Daily Monitor having a story where someone's name is spelled 3 times wrongly in the same story. Now with the appointment of a new executive editor, a very experienced gentleman by the name of Malcolm Gibson, a professor of journalism, want to believe that at least the mundane errors that we find in our favorite newspaper, the Daily Monitor, will be a talk of the past.
Simon, I don't know a lot about print journalism, but is there someone who proofreads before everything goes? Because it's not just a Daily Monitor. And there are papers that are worse than this. You know?
Those don't merit airtime here. It's because of our love and revirement of the Daily Monitor that we discuss about it. There are many papers we treat with a lot of contempt. I mean, why? How many papers hit the streets in Kampala? But we never discuss
all these vegetables.
Please don't go into that.
Put on the same strap. Now, Mafabi here says something interesting. I will not offer myself for presidency in 2016. Let's offer Muntu and others a chance. He's a member of FDC and he deserves it. I hope this gentleman will stand by his word.
You know, when all this started playing out of his dropping from leader of opposition and the skepticism I carried personally on this show, and I put you to task when you gave him some, cut him some slack and say, this is a man who, for the most part, should be taken for his word. I did not think that he would be magnanimous enough to come out and make such a statement. If indeed he means what he's saying, then I can say that I am impressed that the Honorable Nandala Mafabi has now hit the mark that I call maturity in politics.
Yes. Why? Because he's not standing. It's not illegal for him to stand anyway.
No, but I respect him because he's not causing,
chaos matters and all that. He's saying we need to unify this.
Let me wait for my turn. It's not like other people who are jumping the queue.
Talk about it. Well, yesterday we had the managing director of energy distributor, Umeme, discussing with us their goings on there, but most importantly, gloating over their increased revenues at a time they are seeking for an increment on the tariff.
For goodness sake, this 84 billion, worth of profits, let them use that to clear the 37 billion shillings that's outstanding.
Well, there we are.
This I want you and I to fork out.
This is a
so
question.
How much do the shareholders
This is a question I should have asked yesterday, and if you listened carefully, I'm sure this gentleman, Mr. Charles Chapman, did articulate this question.
To that bit.
But let's not forget that there is a public hearing on Friday, not so far away from here, organized and called by the Electricity Regulatory Authority to discuss, among many things, this application by UMEME to have the tariff increase. Now, let's not forget that your voice and my voice and everyone's voice really counts with regard to how much we will be charged for electricity if only we attend such public hearings and make our views heard.
The lizard here is saying, you mean darkness, is this profitable?
That's with regard to the Umeme profits.
A very sad story in the Daily Monitor, and you know, it's also been playing out. The kind of assassinations that are in the country right now.
Assassinations?
Yes, a 17-year-old, a former student of St. Mark Namagoma that was killed, and apparently the killers put the mother online to hear the daughter die.
Okay. And now they're actually haunting the family.
Absolutely. Now, just a bit of correction on the issue of English. This cannot be regarded as an assassination. An assassination is the murder of a prominent person.
Okay.
Now, a 17-year-old, unless she's Mariel Cyrus, you really cannot call that an assassination.
Okay, murder.
Absolutely. And you can call it murder most foul, really, because you pick up a minor, 17-year-old girl, subject her to torture unheard of, put her online to her parents so they can hear her voice as she's groaning in death, and you don't stop there, you keep taunting them. I mean, who grew you killers? Who children? What is it that the father or the family or anybody could have done to you to pay back in this kind of currency? Does it occur to you that you also have a life like this girl whose life you just took away? What are we made of? And then you hear people standing up and saying Ugandans are good people. Was this person killed by Sudanese or any bad person or Americans?
Interesting question you ask, who grew you? But when you say, you know, Ugandans are said to be good people, for goodness sake, it is not all Ugandans that killed this young lady. I think we commiserate with the family. It is sad, and these killers need to be brought to book. But on the whole, not all Ugandans are bad. There are some good Ugandans out there trying their very best to make it decent.
But I've done one question. If there's all this technological advancement, and now I fault the Uganda Communications Commission, you claimed here that you're going to put a face to every number. How come you don't have a face to this number that is taunting this family? How come we are
never registered their numbers, but they're still on?
And then you have the Uganda Communications Commission failing to switch off those numbers that are unregistered. They hounded us here and said, register your numbers. But again, we're also to blame as consumers and customers. Whenever they threatened, we threatened back. Whenever UCC threatened, but I'm telling you,
threatening to sue them.
Absolutely, but Uganda Communications Commission must understand that for you to have an omelette, you must break some eggs.
That's the
now
point.
You can see.
Dig in your heels and stand the ground and say, okay, for all those that are not registered, cut them off. People will make noise even if you give it 5 more years to
absolutely.
People will still not register.
Well, maybe it's also the same argument can be used to this minister who wants all journalists to pay some 200,000 shillings a practicing certificate. I mean, I think she also needs to dig her heels in so that we can separate the chaff from the real stuff.
But see, for me saying that paying 200,000 shillings, well, that's all right, but it's not enough, because you see, anybody can still pay that amount.
Because I think when we get back to the big story, we'll be discussing the goings on in the media in the country. But let's get down to the inner pages of the Daily Monitor this morning. In Next Magazine, have you heard about it? I'm sure you've heard about this scheme, the one they call Telex Free. If you haven't, thank goodness you just saved yourself from being conned. There's been going on
all these things.
These are online Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes that make people yearn for money, and they invest hundreds of millions of shillings or other currencies and lose them in just one go. It's a story playing out for you Next Magazine. Get to find out what are all these online schemings that people tend to present to you as too good to be true modes of making money.
You know, I had a conversation with a young lady about this, and she was very passionate about telex marketing. And I think a few weeks before, Rionga had really done a very comprehensive feature on telex marketing. And she's like, I just go and see it and send adverts. So I'm like, okay, you are clearly not an IT person. Okay, a virus can eat whatever you have posted. You don't look at the advert you're posting, but you expect money to come. Do you know the people who own the trade? No. I just sit in my office. I'm like, okay.
And wait for money to come.
Why don't you go out?
Where in the world does that happen? Well, if you're Mark Zuckerberg, sit in your dorm and come up with something.
But he didn't just sit.
All of a sudden.
Well, there you are. But in the Daily Monitor, you can find out more ways of making money, smarter ways of making money, hard ways of making that money that you will enjoy without hurting others. And this is in the Prosper Magazine. And in Prosper Magazine, we are talking about, interestingly, Forex trading, another intricate mode of making money on the internet. You must have the professional nuance. And there is a gentleman here who's quoted extensively. Remember him, Stephen Kaboyo, who is an economist and worked with the central bank. He's giving some good advice on Forex trading and how you can harness it to make yourself a quick buck. Let's not forget that we have your usual kids pull out. If you love your children, please go back home today with a copy of the Daily Monitor, because in there we've got the Rainbow Magazine. Good for them. It teaches them so many things that possibly they never pick up from school.
And
there is a picture here of the girl with a passion for God.
Passion for God. We need more of such people in this good country. A friend of mine, James Abola, writes here and says, the corrupt thrive on teamwork. He says, many honest people, and this is so true, by the way, this is really true. Many honest people become parties to corruption by simply fearing to speak up. So it's two ways. When you do not speak, you actually, in many ways, are betting this. And of course, that is why we keep asking, okay, now the likes of Kazinda, he's behind doors alone. Did he actually do this alone? Teamwork, my friend says, so we need to look for his teammates.
Or our teammates, for that matter. There is an interesting news political analysis in the Daily Monitor that talks about President Museveni's Pan-African talk failing to catch fire at home. Here we are struggling so hard to be patriotic, loving our country. And yet we have our president globe-trotting on shuttle diplomacy, talking about Pan-Africanism. Now, if your citizens at home are not patriotic to love their own country, and you are here talking about Pan-Africanism, which is a continent, and you really putting the cart before the horse. And this is what the analysis seeks to put across.
It's the case of Jesus not being loved.
Like every other prophet anyway, not being loved at all.
Yeah, but you see, this Pan-Africanism agenda is out to say, look, as Africans, let's unite so that we can put our best foot forward. But I'll tell you, until we address the three biggest challenges Africa, and Uganda for that matter, does face. There are three. I name them for you. You're ready. Number one is leadership. Number two is leadership. Number three is leadership. Once we address those three, we'll be good to go. All these things, poverty, disease, etc., they'll be remedied. So we need to answer that key aspect of leadership.
Right. Well, there we are in the Daily Monitor this morning. We have an interesting in-depth report, which is an oil report, and they're talking about the fishing communities in despair over oil drilling. I mean, I thought these fishing communities are now aware of exactly what's going on in the neighborhood. We're talking about people in the Alberta and Graben who are grappling with oil activities in their backyard, at the same time expecting to earn some money from their age-old activity of fishing. Well, I think they're still on a better course than their Nigerian counterparts in the Niger Delta because of oil spills that are reported there almost every other day. Here we are simply still drilling. So let them wait for the time when we start spilling in the lake.
You know, if you're going to buy into this whole oil happening, it is good for our country, yeah. But if Ugandans are to buy into it, they must hope to realize that we're all going to benefit. That does not seem to be the case. Everything seems to be done clandestinely. Deals here and there, and of course not everything can be brought out in the open, yeah? But you see, when everything is happening surreptitiously, people are quietly doing things, people do not know about them. They're thinking, well, better I earn from my fishing, which I know about, than this oil thing, which I don't quite understand. You're throwing us off our land, etc., etc. People need to be helped to understand this is how you're going to benefit, and they should actually benefit, and not just a few.
There was a mosaic that they put on TV the other day, and they were telling him, let's build for you a house of 100 million. And in my head I was thinking, why don't you just give the mosaic 100 million?
Yeah, but you see, for some of these people, you give them money, and within 2 weeks or 4
But why are you building a house of 100 million, first of all, for one person?
Well, probably.
Who has stayed in a hut for all their life?
Of course, the challenge is that they are forcing people and saying, we are not giving you, but we must build for you a house. So that is wrong. I should be allowed to determine what I want to do with either you give me the money or build the house for me, but people should be sensitized. The issue of just giving them money, it will dissipate.
Well, away from that, we're looking at another sad story playing out in the Daily Monitor, page 3. A little 4-year-old people who was crushed dead by a truck as they made their way to school yesterday. And that raises the bigger question of public safety on our roads, but also very importantly, the safety of our children as we send them to school. The story playing out here is that this young lad, Emmanuel, who met his death in a very grotesque manner before the eyes of his parents soon after I helped him cross the road, is that this boy was put on a border that was waiting, and unfortunately the border was crushed and the child died. The story is here in the Daily Monitor. I mean, we love our children. We subject them to all these kind of things. But on the other hand, there are people who are motorists who see borders. We now treat borders as a necessary evil. They help us get about easily in more ways than one. But why don't we respect them on the road? If you notice, many motorists treat border people with a lot of contempt.
I tell you, Uganda is one of those with the highest accident rates. And again, I know we keep saying this a lot, yeah, but regulation, I think, will answer this a great deal. Because you see, many times there's a man or woman behind the wheel, but there is absolutely no brain behind that wheel. I am not ashamed to say that. Because you see the way people drive and the way they operate, God forbid any of us can fall victim, but I think we need to regulate the way we do things. People can just do anything in such a wanton manner, and
absolutely.
It is all right.
And you see, most importantly also, it's the state of our roads. Many times I get flagged down by the police and they are asking me all these sorts of questions and saying my car is not roadworthy. And many times I want to ask them, is this road car worthy? I mean, many times you have got roads that are not car worthy, especially in the capital here, Kampala.
Right.
And most of these accidents are not because, indeed, like you said, people don't have brains, but also we don't have roads on which people are riding in. Just the other day, on Sunday, my own parish priest suffered a very nasty accident in Mboya here on his way to Kireka, simply because he was trying to swerve and avoid an oncoming truck on a narrow road. And there we are. I don't want to believe that the priest really, well, at this risk of having this holier than thou attitude, early morning, 11 o'clock, clearly there must have been something more than just human error. The state of our roads.
You know, these days increasingly I've started using border because my wife now has the car and there's a baby, so while I wait,
trying to be a good father.
Yes, but like you've said, motorists, people in the cars do not respect border people.
But do the border people respect people in the cars?
Chip into the road anytime, anywhere.
And I hope that some border riders are watching. These border guys think when they're on the road, they are the size of a truck. And that anything else is smaller, it's the size of a Vitz. And many times, I personally have tried to, if they have no passenger on, for the most part, I will go for them. Why? You lower your glass and ask him one question. Boss, you are the body of your...
everything.
You are everything of your way. The moment I knock you, I will repair my light from all these shops that are selling fake and genuine car parts. What about you? Where are you going to get a leg? In Malago, you'll even be lucky if they have the right knife to cut it off. And they're here, you're riding on. And I ask them, when you're riding like that, do you have children at home that you've left? Do you have a wife at home that you've left? Do you care about your own life? And they never answer that question. What they do, they will holler at you, insults and all that. But you know, I've always told many of these border riders that they don't have monopoly to insults, they don't have a monopoly to stupidity.
Well, at least for you are the more mature one. And
no, there's nothing like being more mature. At the end of the day, some lessons have to be learned the hard way.
Yeah, but you see, hiding an insult that the guy might not do it. But
no,
truth is, we will probably need to
come
to
border guy has an insult at you.
You knock him.
Adito. I mean, and the insurance companies know that for a fact. That's why we go for comprehensive insurance, so we can repair bumpers as a result of that. But anyway, that is just for banter's sake. We are taking a short break. When we return, Joel and I will be banting about the goings on in the media and why all these rules, regulations and amendments to the Journalists Act are taking place. Could we be seeing something gearing up to the 2016 election with regard to muzzling, how we are able to report the goings on there? That's the million-dollar question we'll be answering when we return.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
Doesn't look like I've got anything to hide, Lily. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Mansfield Agassi?
Blood seemed to matter not. Blood? Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
Father, I no go stop to the singing. No problem. Keep singing.
This singing will put you in trouble very soon. You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how God. How I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of my mind. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me. Do you know how long I've been waking up quietly and you refuse to wake? Now you can't interrupt someone.
I like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal His people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
Naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde kati gwa 7 kitundu gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gulongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo gusooke gubataayize gubaletire kintu kyonna kalembere n'ebyemizannyo ogunyumuli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 nsima waali alagira Argentina yende mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'ebyemizannyo 2014 hezinte.
I'm gonna blow your mind and I'm gonna twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very powerful. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
Okay, tuka bulungi. Asimwe. Asimwe. Vya bulungi ya drag. Okay, don't worry.
Mbasi cheza.
Mbasi cheza mkoti yangu.
Sente.
Nzo wajimu.
Sawanya demo mwenge.
Hani kutamu. Ha? Nkuwulirira bwaze nja kukuba.
Tonnaba kusasula myezi ebiri gya nyumba gye batubanja. Oli mukunywa mwenge n'abakazi.
Kikulu nnyo ffe abeewola okumanya zi banka n'abatuwola engeri gye babalamu amagoba.
Lwaki obuuza ekibuuzo ekyo?
Sente zaabwe.
Dembe lyo ekyo kikulu nnyo okukimanya. Ofuna kikulu nnyo okusooka okunoonyereza tusobole okwetegereza n'okwekkaanya. Okifuna amagoba n'oluvannyuma tulondeko amagoba agasinzeeko okuba amatono.
Ekifo ekimu kisawa musu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Deception.
We'll all be thrown in jail, and of course I'll use your money to get myself out. Nsagala mutabani kumanya tetwasisinkanye. Ekyo kyekikulu.
Lillian, I'm looking out for you. This is what we're going to do.
This is very unnecessary. Unnecessary? Gilbert, omanya banga lyondobeza. Osanga kyokutwala mukoti kijja kuteekamu amagezi mu mutwe.
I was just giving you time. I can explain this.
Explain what?
No. Go see the
lives even become monogamous.
Deception.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Munondo.
Thank you for watching NTV. Morning at NTV is the show. We now return to Simon for today's big story.
Looking at the big story this morning, playing out from our own back court, there is the Press and Journalists Fees Regulation 2014. And in this piece of legislation that is being mooted by government through the Ministry of Information and National Guidance, journalists are required to pay some 200,000 for a practicing certificate of sorts and some 100,000 annual subscription to belong. This, for the most part, many journalists are taking with a lot of apprehension for two reasons. Fundamentally, that there has been a lot of freedom on the part of journalistic practice, that there is no now need to put a cap on how we practice our trade through imposing a fee. We already pay enough in taxes from pay-as-you and all these other taxes that government levies so wantonly on us. The others are arguing, why should he impose some 200,000 Uganda shillings, which is not peanuts or pocket change in the hands and pockets of a journalist? Many journalists, some argue, will take home that 200,000 shillings after a 3 months hard work. Is the government trying, using other methods, to discriminate against or, in fact, muzzle the ability of those amongst us, the journalists, whose income is not big enough to cover that 200,000? All these are playing out with this new legislation, and Joel and I are going to, throw around our 2 pence and discussions on this. Joel, for the start, what impression do you get when you see government coming up at this particular time with this kind of amendment to the Press and Journalistic Act to impose a fee on practice and all that?
I think for starters, it's good manners to begin by cleaning our own house, taking responsibility of sorts. I'll tell you that many of the people that we call journalists, many are not, but they're practicing journalism.
We don't even call them, they call themselves. You have all sorts of artisans, all sorts of, carpenters and all that. Everyone claiming to be a journalist simply because they've got the ability, they've got the privilege of platform.
And maybe a gadget or two. So I think, truth be told, many times journalists will call them that, even those that are not, have let down this country, because you see, as a good journalist, one, you must be able to get a good story, but it's not enough to get a good story. Report that good story right, and we don't see that often, be it on TV, radio, the electronic media, or print media for that matter.
But where one can argue that there is infinite possibility of improvement, that you don't expect a first world media in a third world country, or even a country that's below third world like Uganda is. However, we also in this country have professional organizations that put certain professions together. There's the Public Relations Association of Uganda. There is the Law Society, which just on the weekend elected their president, and you know that there are some kind of semi-autonomous group of professionals who people look up to give some kind of, properly well-guided thought with regard to legal matters. And they also are a society that seems to check their own members. The other day you saw the Architectural Association of Uganda issuing a release of all architects in Uganda, so that there are no fakes. You know that accountants of Uganda are put in a certain body. Where do we as journalists belong? What body puts us together? You would argue the Uganda Journalists Association. Someone will argue the National Institute of Journalism of Uganda, NIJU. Some will argue UJA.
Some will talk about Media Center.
Exactly.
But so that of course is one way in as far as regulating us is concerned. I'm still trying to clean up and say I think we need to put our house in order. Many times you look at certain stories that are incontrollably written wrong. The other day I read somewhere and people were referring to Paris Girimana as the PS in gender ministry, in OPM. And I was thinking, no, this has changed. As a journalist, you should know that. So we need to up our game. You look
so
at
we're levying a fee against us, putting 200,000 shillings as a practicing certificate, be able to make you a better journalist than you are today?
I don't think so. And again, you talk about many journalists not being able to afford this. Of course, we need to tell media houses to pay journalists better. But you see, many of these journalists are actually freelance journalists, and they earn money per story, and sometimes the
but
story...
if there's something like freelance in the real sense of the word, that I'm a freelance journalist, I'm able to sell my story to the highest bidder. They have a story tomorrow, I send it to one media house.
That's what happens much of the time, by the way. And
for Ugandans,
yes,
I think it happens when you use a normal degree. But as Simon Kasiate, cannot have a byline in one newspaper and I buy another reporting daily news and expect to be paid. I don't think that
it happens a lot. And I've actually watched many times. You see news and well, not on NTV, of course, but certain TV stations, and you realize it's actually the same story, exactly the same way it's played out. And they're thinking, hey, this guy sold it to 2 people, yeah? Well, because he's trying to make a quick buck. If you give him 20,000 shillings, that's not even enough for his transport. He's thinking, okay, how do I up this? I go take it elsewhere.
But the journalists, some are professional, others leading, civil society organizations that are out clamoring for the respect and upholding of basic rights, which include the right of expression, are arguing that this legislation as mooted by the minister is perhaps a ploy to muzzle the journalist fraternity in this country further, especially at this time as we are gearing to the next election. And it normally happens around this time towards an election. It's always cyclical that you have stringent measures being put in place. Do you believe or subscribe to that school of thought?
I'm hard-pressed too. Of course, as a journalist, I've got rights, but I've got responsibilities too. And journalists have got to be checked. I'm not too sure about this 200,000 shillings coming into check because they're not justifying it well enough. Like you're saying, it's probably trying to edge out and cut off a couple of others. So there's just a very small
lot from the grain.
You know that can't cover literally everything. I think this is very high-handed, especially given the fact that
you have a problem with paying a subscription fee to belong to an association.
I would not. If at the end of the day there's justification for it, what are the benefits from this, for example? That question needs to be answered.
When you have a practicing certificate, which in other words make you so that you don't have at the same time get infiltrators or you don't get masqueraders, people claiming to be you out there in the field that you feel you belong. It's more like having you may belong to a club, say Kampala Club. It's important that you pay a subscription fee, an annual subscription fee, you pay a membership fee, so that you feel you belong there. Isn't that?
And I don't believe that's a place of government to do. As journalists, we need to get organized.
But in the absence of a proper journalistic association that means business, and then we have Uganda Journalists Association. But how many journalists subscribe to that body? The other day they were having an election to elect their
I saw that one.
It was mired in the worst controversy I have seen in recent time with regard to electoral democracy. And you ask yourselves, we sit on a moral high ground and start castigating parties like the Forum for Democratic Change for having shambolic elections. We castigate the NRM for having, badly elected leaders and the process being flawed. But we are unable ourselves to put up and live by the kind of word that we preach.
Rightly so. We have so far not been able to. I think we should. But you see, government is an interested party. It cannot come in now to regulate. Interested party because many times we actually have got to report about what's happening in government. We've got to critique government. We've got to come out and say, okay, now you made these promises, you've not fulfilled them. Now look at it from the other point of view of the regulator whom we actually meant to put on the scan and get to evaluate is the one saying, okay, now I've got to call this short, now you I can pause you I can delete you I can reject you, and that kind of thing. It's not the place of government to do. And of course now, as journalists, we've got to be organized and get this thing rolling. Otherwise government will say, okay, there's no one to do it, we'll come in, and as an interested party, it might be skewed in many ways.
Well, but again, like I say, let's deal with what we have at the moment. We have a government that is overzealous, that really wants to, put in place some semblance of order within the journalistic folk. We've got the journalistic folk that are unable to organize themselves and form an association that's worth its name, that can sit on the same table with the government and pull and push and carry out certain deliberations to the right forum. So here we are. There is a mooted idea that we must have certificates. Shouldn't we have certificates? Shouldn't journalists be able to be identified by virtue of their practicing certificates, just like doctors are? I think we should have confidence that next time I'm trying to interview somebody on this, they say, but you, Simon, you claim to be a journalist here. Aren't you just a commentator? Where are your credentials? Who are you? And then I should say, oh, wait, fully accredited by government, I pay a subscription fee. Isn't that the right thing to do?
It is. My problem is who is doing it, because you see,
how much?
No, not really.
So
well, I think it's also quite. We should debate it. I shouldn't determine.
My view is that you, Joel, If you work for NTV and NTV puts a value to your head, they should be able as NTV to enroll you. Just like many organizations.
But that's NTV. How about the rural ones that make a party?
That's the argument I have always been making here. Who owns these rural radio stations? Who owns these rural TV stations? It is certainly the politicians here in Kampala. Tell me which politician you know that doesn't have a radio station back at home. They are here running.
A number of them do.
They own. And my argument has always been that the biggest threat to media practice in this country is not even so much the state. It's individual media owners who don't mean business. Why do politicians own these radio stations across the country? It's because they want to have another avenue and an affiliated platform to reach their constituents and campaign. So they are not holding radio stations because there is so much care for the freedom of speech and expression.
They want to have a platform.
They have a platform, and therefore they will employ people and subject them to servitude. And we as journalists must say no. In fact, I would look forward to many more journalists owning their own media houses, as opposed to this politician. What does it take for this?
I like the point you're making of we as journalists must say no. That means the buck must stop with us. That means it's us that have got to get organized and get this thing moving.
Media owners here will tell you that you see reporters walking into their newsrooms and asking, then they say, how much do you expect, or how much would you want to be paid? And a young man or woman will say, well, even if you don't pay me, as long as you give me the opportunity to do this one. That's why people like yourselves and I, and you see at the risk of sounding vain, we are unable to grow. We work so hard, but we are unable to even earn a decent salary, because every time Simon clamors for a higher pay from NTV, there's a guy on the street who wants to come to NTV and say, look, I can do exactly what Simon is doing for half the price. And NTV, as a company that is out to deliver profit, we say, but wait a minute, if Simon is clamoring for $1 million shillings, but I can employ 4 people and give them 250,000 shillings a month, I would have more numbers. But many media houses, and I'm not saying NTV does that, but I'm saying many media houses look at quantity as opposed to the quality of journalists that they have. And at the end, that's why you see this high, I call it high mortality rate of journalists. Every time a good journalist cuts their teeth and they become virulent in this market, the next thing they are being swept off by big corporations. They are going into they are going to work as PROs of diplomatic missions and other high-paying parts.
Talk about somebody I know.
No, clearly. I mean, that seems to be the trend. Why? Because media owners are unable to attract.
And at the end of the day, you've got to put food on your table.
Exactly. We are also, as journalists, we need to live a good life.
Certainly.
So, is the threat to our practice really the government?
I think people see you on TV and they think you earn dollars. But you see, at the end of the day,
I was asking a question. So, is the threat to my survival here? Is it the government or is it the media owner?
It is even you yourself. I think it's a conglomerate of a little bit of everything, yeah? But at the end of the day, if I'm not doing a good job, many of our colleagues do a lackluster job. You hear them on air and they're talking a lot of hogwash and you're thinking, dude, improve yourself, get your facts together, yeah? So media owner will think, but why should I pay this guy a lot more than I'm paying them now if they don't deliver a good job? But you see, at the end of the day, if we're having government coming in and saying, okay, we choose to determine who we give a license to and who we do not, I think that is very curtailing. If we think you're very vehement against the government, we might think, assuming I'm government, I might think, this Cassiate here, he makes a lot of noise about government. He's messing us up here and there. Let's in many ways sabotage him. You do not want to have a situation like that. And that is why we need to call on the journalism, fraternity, if you like. Can we get this thing rolling? Because if we don't, government is going to come in.
Is there such a thing as a journalism fraternity? Are you united as journalists?
That's what I'm saying.
Because when teachers are striking and clamoring for their good, you have Mr. Tweheyo here as the Secretary General of the Uganda National Teachers Union, which brings together all teachers. They seem to have one united voice.
They do.
Tell me, who is the united voice of Ugandan journalists?
And that's the unfortunate bit, something that we need to remedy as soon as yesterday. You honestly do not want government to come in to do this. Why? However good it might be, it is an interested party, and let's assume the current government is a good one, yeah? Tomorrow another that is not so good will come in, and it is as an interested party, it will in many ways pull strings left, right, and center, and cause you to dance to their tunes, and you do not want to have that in place. So as journalists, I think we need to up our game. We need to get this thing rolling. We need to get organized. So at the end of the day, we can call ourselves to order. Somebody has definitely got to call the journalists to order. And if no one is doing it, that's why government is coming in and saying, okay, now we think we're overdoing this, let's come in. You don't want that.
Well, Joel, now finally, when we look at all these goings on around journalists, many times stories that touch us the rawest of our nerves, stories that are to our backyard, stories that touch our very practice and our very survival, seem not to be given the prominence that we tend to give to other stories that touch about other things. That we journalists are more interested in the goings on in the NRM, and that's what we flag on front page, as opposed to flagging our own plight and woes. For example, this story on, this fee being levied upon us. In
Should
my
have been
view,
a front page story.
that is somewhere tucked away on page 5. A day later, remember this happened 2 days ago, and the Daily Monitor is just waking up to this today. And I am not so sure, other than us, if there is any other channel that's talking about the plight of journalism. Have we negated our own welfare to some nether kind of force, and we are, for the most part, spending more time clamoring for the rights and practice of others? I mean, if it were the Lord Mayor being stopped from moving to do his mayhem in this town, if this Kizza Besigye being tear gassed and his eyes washed out, we tend to propagate that as a big story, when it is our very own going through the knocks and goings on. Recently, we had a journalist who was clobbered by, a blunt boat or by some whore on a boat cruise, and that just passed as any other tragedy, and we did not see.
Well, perhaps there could be a lot more than meets the eye to that story. But I get your point of many times we see journalists in despicable conditions, and we should be there to fight for them, especially if it happens in the line of duty. But you see, I think it's a dilemma of sorts. If a journalist or a media house is thinking, okay, what is going to sell? What are people interested in, reading, for example? Are they interested in reading about Honorable Mama Mbabazi and His Excellency the President? Or do they actually, in many ways, have interest in, say, what is happening in the media world? Journalists are going to be charged. How many people would be interested in that story? And I see the dilemma there. We need to propagate our kind of...
We set the public agenda, and that they know that if the public also is very much aware that if there is no journalistic practice worth its name, then they will not be able to enjoy those products which they enjoy all the time. A credible newspaper, the Daily Monitor, would never be what it is if, for example, government is closing it down. The other day, the Daily Monitor was closed for long, but we did not see some kind of concerted efforts from other journalistic area
precisely because they benefit from the closure of Daily Monitor. But true to the
that's
fact
where the
that
issue of solidarity comes in, that you must be your brother's keeper. That
even though we are competitors, in many ways we supplement each other in one way or the other. We need to
teachers
realize
compete for the same jobs, doctors compete for the same jobs, lawyers
when there's an issue, they come out the same
Absolutely.
front. And that's the organization we need to have. We need to get organized, because as it is now, like you're saying, we are cannibalizing ourselves, sometimes unrealizingly so. We need to get organized. Otherwise, somebody else is going to call the shots. We do not want to see that happen.
He has summed it in a very apt manner, perhaps more apt than I would have summed it up. But let's take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says. Where we stand, divided we fall. All this that's thrown at the journalistic fraternity is perhaps taking place because there is no strong, unified, and with a strong sense of solidarity press corps in this country. Maybe if we did that for starters, all this would never take place. But even if it did, then we would have one united voice to stand up and clamor for what we believe is the best thing for ourselves. In the absence of having that solidarity, like other professional bodies do have, and I already dropped here names like the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, to mention but a few. In fact, even comedians do stand together when, like they say, push comes to shove. What about you as journalists? But also, on the other hand, don't you love it when you are bona fidely recognized as a journalist with, for example, a practicing certificate? Just like we are proud of our academic certificates, just like we are proud of our IDs from our workplaces, how about a practicing certificate? We can debate on whether 200,000 is an affordable fee, but one thing is for sure, we need to safeguard our turf. Because you and I, if you're a journalist, you will believe and agree that we've had so many masqueraders in our midst. And that's what, for the most part, creates the bad impression that many people seem to have of us, that we are a disjointed group. We also have a vocation that many people think they can do. But I dare say, what we can do, you can't do if you're not a journalist. And what you can do who is not a journalist, we may not find it easy to do. So we need to respect each other's stuff. But there's no way we respect each other's stuff if there is no proper tag that identifies a journalist, bona fide, from a journalist, fake. With that, let's hope that whatever goes on with regard to the amendments on the Press and Journalistic Act is for the upholding and the respect of the fundamental human right of freedom to expression and, of course, the freedom to be heard and the freedom to speak. Have a wonderful morning. Morning at NTV continues. Stay with us.
We know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase, so you can get emergency airtime and make that important call when you have to, and pay back with a small service fee the next time you recharge. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect, how you browse, how you share, and how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail, you inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how tugenda okwera kekiro yanga bamye manyi yakeko nango oburundi gwe gusembayo.
I went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokezza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza.
Kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Mr. Krabs, are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Oh, Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought! It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? Yeah! That's a mega win!
Hello?
King Julian, you are truly inspiring. Ow!
SpongeBob! Fantastic!
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
She's gone from lunatic to psychic.
You fool! You've probably already seen me naked!
No. I may be depraved and a peeping Tom, Well, maybe with others, but not with you. I respect you.
I know you're still watching me, Vampa.
You have to help me. Something's happening to Valentina. That lunatic Antonio Guerra wants to take her inheritance.
Hold on. How do you know that Antonia wants Valentina's inheritance?
When she told Senator Villegas, she's really upset because Alejandro's hired a lawyer. He wants to try and stop her because she can't...
Calm down.
He didn't use me. And if he did, then I used him too. Ricardo, there's something that I have to tell you.
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you'll come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be a rep.
Marrying your wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes. To raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV. You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulumbo.
It's exactly 15 after 8, and if you're just joining us, whether on your telly or online, youtube.com/NTV Uganda/live. Thank you so much. We're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel now. Before the break, Simon and Joel were discussing about the pending media laws that are going to be instituted very soon. And we'll wait and see. Of course, your feedback on our Twitter handle, that is at morning at NTV. And someone here quoting Joel saying, in Uganda there's freedom of speech, but there's no freedom after speech. All right. At 3256 saying you all look smart, and I can't miss the show every morning. Thank you so much. At Ibra Semwanga also there, and telling us he enjoys the show. At Mugabira 1 saying you guys always make my evening. At Batwala Peter, at morning at NTV, the Commander-in-Chief of the NRA. All right, at Elsie Muha saying, "Hey Brian, you're not fair. You never send regards to Dora, the lady that makes the coffee you enjoy most." Okay, Dorothy, thank you so much for the coffee that we enjoy every morning. Elsie Muha, I hope you're happy. This man won an HTC, and he's definitely using it very, very well. Eyes glued on the TV for everyday life. I love this show, and that is at DV_VA. Coming up in a couple of minutes. But before we go there, let's take a look at the traffic report this morning. The traffic this morning. Let's first take a look at Chintu Road. We are very close to that road, and it's very slow. This road is always, like free access. You just drive your car past it. If you're going via Nakumat or the Winton Road or the Presidential Twin Towers, a couple of people walking to work. You can see them over there. Macarena, who somehow today is blocked, also setting up his pancake business. The corporate's getting a bit of that. But we also got pictures from you on our WhatsApp handles. And remember, you can be a traffic reporter. 0-716-730 is the number you can send that message to. That is 0-716-730. We've got a message from Herbert, a picture at Acacia Avenue. It's always packed, always, very slow. And one from John at Fairway Hotel. All right. And, traffic always very slow. Pictures are kind of dark. I think it was sent about 15 minutes ago. And the rest of you, wherever you're stuck, let us know and we update on our traffic report. Heading over to Mabel with the birthday wishes. When we come back, everyday life will be set. Good morning. Happy birthday to you.
Welcome back, and today we would like to say happy birthday to a 2-year-old Peter Kwesiga. Happy birthday to you. Lots of love from Mommy, Daddy and your sister. And also celebrating birthdays this week, I'm not too sure of the days, are Peter Igaga and Hannington Muyenje. Hannington is somewhere in the Middle East, but Peter Igaga is part of us here. Happy belated or before, I'm not too sure, but happy birthday. Now moving on to some of your Facebook messages. Here is a picture of Brian and I should say in happier times, but some of your messages. Julia says, do you think Ugandans don't love their country? If they do, what do they think they must do to show it? Let that guy in the middle answer. I think he's referring to the press review. And Okia Ben says the signal in Jinja is not so good. Chris says, honestly, UCC has a hand in the murder of the 17-year-old girl who died, who during her torture, the murderers put her mother online to hear the daughter rolling, I think, in pain before death. I expected all the lines of Ugandans to be registered now. How come the murderers are not yet known? Please, UCC, get serious. Uhuru Stanley says, Brian, leave Moreno Ocampo alone. Nyeko Rach will handle his case. How he handled his so-called watertight ICC case of Kenya exposed him. Moreno himself will end up in ICC. And Mona Lisa here says, NTV News is a bit biased when it comes to northern issues of Ocampo. And though she goes on to say, we northerners are grateful Ocampo is here to fight for our cause. And yes, Sendija Rashad says, thanks for the show, guys. You make my day. May the Almighty bless you. Some of you are answering the question we asked earlier. And Johnson says, Brian looks to be a typical examiner. Is he being strict or is he sad? Whatever. Anyway, too sad for the Malaysian plane. Mabel, is it true that last year's UACE results are to be released today? I think I'll check with our news team and get back to you on that one. Someone says, good morning, Mabel. I can't wait to watch the news making the headlines. You people make my day. You are the best. I am waiting to have a day with your show. Thanks for the work at NTV. And then someone says, Brian, I did have power today and I missed my breakfast. I did or I did not, I think. You want to know who the winners are of the HTC phone. Just lots of you with great comments for us. Thank you so much. We love your feedback. Keep posting, keep liking our page, share it with your friends. We now hand over to Brian for the HTC moment.
We started with the goal of bringing the power of computing into the hands of people around the world. From the beginning, we were designing many of the world's first touch and wireless handheld devices. Reaching out to our partners and setting no limits on innovation, we produced one of the most popular touch experience devices at the time. We were building smartphones before the term smartphone even existed. We then set out to make the most versatile smartphones, including ones that let you use either a touchscreen or a keyboard. We saw the potential of 3G early on and introduced the world's first 3G Windows mobile smartphone. We changed the way you use your fingers. Based on our research into gestures, we gave you the intuitive and easy-to-use HTC Touch. We then announced a new way for you to experience the internet with the world's first Google Android smartphone. To give you the most personal experience, we introduced HTC Sense, a user experience that fundamentally changes the way you use your phone by making things work the way you expect them to. We once more revolutionized the industry by launching the world's first 4G Android smartphone. We integrated Beats audio into our phones to deliver the most authentic sound experience, enabling people to finally feel the music the way the artist intended. We created a one-of-a-kind phone with an amazing camera that outperforms most point-and-shoot varieties. Most recently, we once again set the industry ablaze with the new HTC One. Critics have hailed the new One with its full metal body design, a live home screen, photos that come to life, and dual frontal speakers as the best Android phone of the year. Curiosity and ingenuity have defined our history, and we're recognized by the industry as one of the world's most innovative brands. We've come a long way, but one thing hasn't changed. It's people like you that inspire us to create the most innovative products in a world that becomes more connected every day.
Everyday life powered by HTC, quietly brilliant. And before we head, we've been talking about the HTC, and we've been giving out phones every day, and every week we give out 2 phones. Unfortunately we can't give out more phones until the winners pick them up. So those guys are on their way, and when they get here, they will hand over the phones. Then we'll start another bunch of winners. So we'll let you know as and when that happens. But check out the HTC Hub at Forest Mall, and you can grab yourself the latest HTC Desire 500, the 600, there's 400, there's 300, there's 200, and the HTC One. There's also the HTC One Max. You can get that for yourself. That is HTC Hub at Forest Mall. And this morning I realized something where you can lock your phone using the fingerprint scan. I see people swiping patterns. Someone can just learn your pattern. So this morning, unless they cut your finger off, no one can hack into your phone, no one can read anything. You can just do the fingerprint scan. That is on the HTC One Max. When you unlock your phone, all you have to do is just swipe here, and the phone, and it will read the fingerprint, and alas, you're in. Grab yourself the HTC One Max, about 2 million shillings. It's the biggest, one of the biggest from HTC. And remember, we were voted the best smartphone for 2013. You can be a part of the revolution. Coming up is Everyday Life. Stay with us.
It's the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. It stresses you out. It calms you down. It helps you remember. It helps you forget. It keeps you connected. It's the only thing you own that is always within an arm's reach. Which is why you don't need to get a phone. You need a phone that gets you. And you. And you. And we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by
We are HTC.
Well, this morning on Everyday Life we have an hour of stuff to talk about. First, joined by Edwin Muhumuza. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. And one of the very fairest men at the moment, Humphrey. Good morning. You know what? Our viewers loved you. That's why you're back.
Oh, I'm honored.
And I think you're the first guest to come back twice on Everyday Life.
Oh, I'm actually the last year.
Today we're going to talk about the art of listening. But before we delve into that, Edwin,
yes,
what exactly do you do?
Well, thank you so much, Brian. My name is Edwin once again. I'm an environmentalist.
Oh,
yes.
Right.
Very serious activist in the environment. Yes, and I'm glad to be with you here this morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. What is Youth Go Green about? Because I've seen you before presenting.
Youth Go Green is an environmental force of young people. It's a campaign which we started sometime back around in 2012, where we realized that we might be digging a very deep grave for ourselves. There is a lot of degradation that has really come into play, and we decided to come up as young people to see how to best preserve our country. Global warming issues, climate change issues, and floods hitting us seriously, killing people and stuff like that.
I saw a headline that we might lose all forests by 2050.
Yes. The other day we're celebrating the Forest Day. So really, we came out as young people and said, how do we save our country? So we started a non-governmental organization where we decided to have massive tree planting across the country. We wanted to have green all over Uganda, so we came up with a plan. Said this is it. So we're planning to plant 10 million trees in about 5 years.
Wow.
Yes, this project was launched last year about 2012 by His Excellency the President, around here in Ambole, and we're glad to have the Speaker of Parliament as the patron of this program.
Fantastic.
So our core activities, objectives is planting trees and nothing else. We want just to have a green environment.
Later in the show you will also be telling us about how Ugandans can be a part of this. Now I want to turn to Humphrey. Today I'm like multitasking. Humphrey, the last time we met I asked you about what makes a good listener. And most of the time we're distracted in conversations and you end up just running around. And Edwin also feel free to share this. But in your work, where do we go wrong when we lose your content and someone goes, I heard exactly what you are saying and but you didn't actually hear. You heard but you didn't listen. Yes. What happens in that, for lack of better word, chaos?
Yes. Brian, this is a very busy world, very dynamic. So many things happening, not just around us, but also on the inside of us, in our minds, in our hearts, thoughts, emotions, all those things going around. Now, when you meet somebody and you're trying to have a conversation, or you're in a business deal and you're trying to negotiate, or husband and wife are trying to have a conversation about where to take the child to school or something like that, it's important to pay attention. Okay? Where we usually go wrong is we want to multitask listening. So you're listening to Brian, but you're not trying to fidget with your phone. You're thinking about this, you're thinking about dinner, you're thinking about money, blah, 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 all those kinds of things. And at the end of it all, you don't actually pay attention. Right. Okay? And sometimes when we pay attention for the wrong reasons. You can pay attention to somebody because you're looking for what to say in return. Okay? When somebody is talking, you're formulating your answer. Yeah. Now that is the wrong way of going at listening. Listening should be a place where you let me hear you out. Let me hear your opinion. Let me stand in your shoes. Okay? Let me see where you're coming from. Then I would better approach this. Okay? Or let me hear what you have to say. I don't have to answer. I don't have to solve your problem. Because listening is not the process of trying to find where is the problem so that I solve it. Listening is let me get to know you. Let me get to know what is going on at the inside of you.
It works a lot for like us, you know, when you're interviewing people, as they're talking, you're like, because I was a bit at the guy like, what am I going to ask him? That guy is my key, you know. Has it worked against you too, where you're caught off guard? Exactly. Speaking sometimes because you can sit like you can, for instance, you can have an appointment with someone. You are like you're asking yourself, what do I have to ask this guy? All of a sudden the guy comes around and he says, Edwin, I have had you say this and that. What do you have to say? You know. But if you're not a very attentive, if you're not a good listener, sometimes you miss out on the key points. Sometimes persons can want to tease you. To tease you, see how you reason, how you handle some issues. But when you're not a good listener, sometimes you fall a victim.
Very true. I mean, just to take that a little further. You see, negotiation. Okay, when you're negotiating a deal, okay, a business deal, or you're negotiating for a pay rise.
Now we're listening.
So that is the point at which you need to understand, okay, what is this person's opinion? What is this person's standpoint? Okay? Not how am I going to counter this? How am I going to come after this? No. Where are they coming from? What is important to them? Because when you understand what is important to somebody, and then you end up speaking their language, you win them over to your side. I'll give you an example. I personally have no problem with football, but I will never sit down to watch it. I'm not a football fan. Sorry, Man U, Arsenal, KCC, Villa, not my cup of tea. I don't have that time. I have no problem with it. But if I'm going to have a conversation with somebody, I need something from them, I need a deal from them, and I know they are an Arsenal fan, I will be feeling like I invented Arsenal. Listen and say, right? And meet them at where exactly they are at, okay? Instead of coming with my agenda, bam, here is my agenda, now let's talk about it. No, I need to endear them. I need to bring them out. And how do you bring them out?
When you listen and keep quiet, don't you give up control of the conversation? Yes, you have your own agenda. But when you give the other person, they will keep talking as you keep quiet, don't really run over you.
They don't necessarily have to. They don't necessarily have to. Because you keep quiet. You see, silence sometimes is power under control. It is you actually controlling your emotions. It's you actually who is being more in control than being all over the place, swinging from the walls and bouncing off chandeliers. But instead, you're the kind of person who is, let me take this in. And if I am to have the comeback, I will come back stronger, better, more organized. Okay? So, it's not necessarily that you give it all control because you've decided to silently listen. Sometimes, the strongest people are the people who are most under control, who are calm, probably more reserved, sometimes unassuming, will walk into a place, don't want to make an entrance, they don't walk in with mouth fast, but will prefer to study the situation and understand what is going on. You know, we talk about this in group dynamics. How do you win yourself, win friends in a group, in a team? How do you get people onto your side? It's not going talking. It is sometimes study the situation. And understand Brian. Listen to Brian. Brian will feel respected and will feel, oh, he was the time for me. Right. I mean, that makes you sweat in your suit and feel like you know you got them. you actually have the control.
Right. Well, if you're just joining us today, I am with two gentlemen. One who is an environmental activist, not a feminist. I need you to listen to that very carefully. And Humphrey, who is also a motivational speaker, was here a couple of weeks ago. You loved it, and many of you are saying, it's okay, because you are a bit worried, you're like, but just bring this man guy, just bring him. Like, yeah, what the hell, bring him. And he's that, and we're looking at the art of listening, and also combining it with what your contribution to the environment is this morning. And of course, the paper is saying that we might lose all our forests by 2050. What can you do as a Ugandan? I want to quickly, wrap up the listening. Are there particular things that, are there particular tactics that you can use so that you don't get ahead of yourself while listening to the person? But also sometimes some people keep talking and talking like man. When the conversation and we want to be able to help our people.
Very good. Listening is an art. Okay, so it takes tact. To be able to change conversation, to be able to stop somebody who is verbose, who is talking all the way, is an art. To be able to jump in and say, oh, so you actually mean this, and this. You actually repeat their words to them. You've actually, you take all that they have said. So if I hear you correctly, Ryan, is this what you're saying? And I'm like, thank you. I got it. The other thing is, eye contact is one of those key things. I know in African tradition we are told, respect. I'm okay, everything's fine, looking at being able to look at somebody face to face. And when we're training people in communication, tell them, no, I don't have to be shy. Sometimes you're looking at the bridge of the nose, but it looks like you're looking at the eye. They'll never tell. They'll never tell. You look like here. Okay? And so that eye contact, that it comes through as confidence, not necessarily aggression, but assertiveness. Yeah, because if I look into your eyes, for me, I find myself thinking, you're a person who's and that communicate stability. That is a bit, for lack of a better word, freak out. The person talking. I think I agree with him. That's true that he's really confident. The fact that you can be able to stand straight and look at me and listen to me, that even gives me very much energy to speak what I want to speak. Usually, someone calls you up and you start thinking about it, means you cannot even express yourself. You cannot really tell the person that this is something I want to tell you. But when you look in someone's eyes and listen to him, that gives me, that's what I do. In my life, I can never speak to someone thinking, I look at you. Because even that gives me more energy, and I'm like, okay, I see points coming up. That's true. Because even that gives me the opportunity to think. Yeah. I can even tell the kind of person you are at times. Okay, this guy, I could be even a thief. I mean, when you look at somebody, what expression have on face, for example, when you're listening to them? You can put on an expression that makes you look like your brother is in Tanzania. Or you can look at somebody in a way that, with an expression that is endearing, that is warm, that makes the other person not feel intimidated or drawn back or wondering, is there something wrong with my hair? Okay? But so even while looking at the person, the expression on your face does communicate. Because it's a whole package of communication. So to be able to look at somebody and they feel comfortable, they feel safe. What expression are you wearing? You may not be able to control the beauty on your face, but you can control the expression on your face. Beautiful. I was just looking at the bridge of your nose. The big one. As we conclude this, it's very freaky. The other time they say we lose about 80 Manilas in Manila Stadium, but all your those every year,
Ugandans this morning? How do we do? I'm glad that you also aware of what's happening. The rate of deforestation in this country is really, really high. If I would ask you, don't you use charcoal at home? No, not yet. No, not yet. No, actually, firewood. How does it mean in high school? In high school, yes. Now, that alone tells you that really everyone, every morning a tree is hot. Every morning a tree at least is hot. You can rake a stick, you can uproot a tree, you can cut a tree, but that is what contributes to the rate of deforestation. Now, like you said, what can really Ugandans do to save this situation? Now, this project is really, it is a project that really addresses everything and anyone. So far, I would say that we plan to close to 1 million trees in about less than 2 years. Wow. And we are talking about 8 million trees to grow. Yes. And we are putting it in the general public. We have a very big activity coming up in April. We have a close partnership with the Uganda National Road Authority. We also have a partnership with the National Forest Authority. We have a plan of planting trees along all the national roads up. All the roads of Uganda, those which are newly constructed and rehabilitated. Have you ever planted it? Yes, I have. Do you understand? Have you ever planted it in your life? I have. Really? I have. Where? Last year I planted it. Do you plant a fruit tree? Where? And where in Kampala? We established a forest. No, in Masakawa Road. Okay, that's how I wish you were going to go. I want you to join this program. When is it? We have this beautiful event from 20th and up to 25th. We're going to plant trees along the northern bypass. That is our first launch, our first activity. Northern bypass and the other road. We have so far identified and invited over 50 companies, including NTV Uganda. What we decided is we're going to have every corporate company be given a kilometer. Plant all trees, our staff, NTV, wake up, just go to the road, plant a tree. And that's why we push it for a week. Because we don't interrupt these corporates, they have tight schedules. So we're thinking that every corporate company will start in the morning, get its own staff, maybe 20, maybe 10, come to the road. Plant the trees, and we need to talk to to see whether these corporate can identify with their activity plan. We want to have NTV forest around the northern line. That would be awesome. Well, that's in a faster time, but we should go here again to talk about it. Especially as I managed, I'm the project team, man. Thank you so much for coming. I should call you again so that I've brought up into this. There's a lot of, stuff going on this morning. But you can head over to Facebook, morning at NTV. There's Excellence Center have a Facebook page. Yes, Excellence Center. Check out Humphrey, and you need any, especially that Kalama. But you can head over there for more details. That morning at NTV. And the Youth Go Green campaign is also on. We'll be giving you those details as and when they happen. Coming up is the sports segment with Isma Mengo and I. Stay with us. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by
We are HTC.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5 cancer with her.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they love you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable. As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together and
Now I was going to come back and make it all right. And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God. Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
You know, Jesus died to set me free, and he can give you the heart.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
Sound happy you came?
Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things human.
I have no reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, I attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there's a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on? I can't imagine how I want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm going to do something to ruin your marriage, or not you?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
What are you going to do? You going to blackmail them this time, or are you going to bribe them?
Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
I'm going to blow your mind, and I'm going to twist it this time. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
You're getting way too much credit.
You know what? You got what you want.
But what shocked me is that you don't care at all about Hakeem and Lulu.
What was that? That was me trying to say the two of us. At the expense of someone's career? A man's got to do what a man's got to do to survive. All I say is
How about you stay away from my reporters and stay away from my newspaper?
Hakeem could be labeled Sam, but that's yet to be verified.
But
where did you get all these stories from? I'm a journalist, but what you don't buy?
If you spend less time on the phone, you should probably move up to speed.
Lucy, thanks for the advice. I'm the mother, not one of your cheap whores, and you need to show me some respect.
Tonight, and before we go looking at the art of listening and also what your part as far as concerning the environment is concerned, what should we do to save this? Otherwise, by 2050, we'll be out on all of our phones. Very shocking, very scary news.
You know, sometimes when I listen to scientists speak, they are far from the ideal. They are very far from the ideal, and I'm a bit extremely radical. On what scientists say, I actually refuse to believe that will be out. It will happen.
Yeah, if we continue like this, I think it will happen. But also countries that without forests have done it, so I hope we will have also the technology.
You know, that necessity is the mother of invention.
In Uganda. Alright, let's talk about now. How close are NEMO, stars, and we're focusing this time on volleyball first, reaching their goal at the Africa Club Championships in Tunisia?
They're too far away from it because they went there trying to get to the top 8, which would mean a quarter-final. That would help them improve from 11th position where they finished last year, because there were 17 teams last year in Libya, and they came 11th. Now they are in Tunisia, just right about the same countries there. But NEMO Stars have only won 1 game out of 4. That means they cannot get into the top 8. So they can only play for the classification games. That would help them, for example,
finish a better position than 11th, and that's going to take quite something for Nemo Stars to achieve. I'm starting to think they are maybe not going to improve on 11th place. They haven't played well, but for me the bigger lessons for Nemo Stars is that it's only the second year they are playing at this level, so they've got to learn from it. I'd love to see the financiers continue to support the club, knowing that after 2 failures they can only improve. I have a fear that because of the short-termism that Ugandans are, is that after failing one or 2 times, everyone will go back home and say, we just can't do this, we're just not good enough, and everyone wants the funding. That's my biggest fear. But from the structure that Nemo Stars is, and having a man like Moduso Jala, is the father of volleyball in Uganda, by the way, did start the game here back in 1973, and actually did form all the teams, KBC, KCC, and has consistently broken out from, that's when he broke out from Nemo Stars. So I want to believe that they are as committed to this as I hope they should be. Because if Nemo Stars play the Africa Club Championship, then they come back on this show if money at NTV is here, for example, in 5 years' time, and you say 5 years ago Nemo Stars the Africa Club Championship, then they're not taking any lessons. But the more they play the economy, the better for them, even if they may not achieve their goal this time.
Right.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's a new basketball game, a new basketball competition, the Zuku University League. How much can this achieve? Who are the backers and what?
Of course, Zuku have invested a lot of money into this, and for me, when they were launching this last week, and when they're launching this, they already played about 3-4 weeks of this. I think the main target is to help university students play, and of course for them to market their products. But there are so many university students out there who are probably playing basketball in high school, but can't play at university because they can't get to the National League. So this is acting like a bridge between high school and the National League, right in there. That's why they're even bringing age restrictions that you can't play before you're 18, and you can't play if you're over 25. That means if you join university and you're doing your masters, you can't get into the team. So to help all these players who are lacking in confidence, who can't be Nomandlik, who can't be Joseph Ekong, who can't be Ben Komakech tomorrow, they'll get a chance to go into this league and compete. And for me, it's a very good invention. It's only the first year here that it's coming to Uganda, but it's been extremely successful in Kenya. I've watched all the games and the crowd they do gather. Many sports in Africa will be envious. So you hope that whatever is achieved in Kenya, we can just do a copy and paste and do the same here. In terms of achievement, over the weekend they were in Deje. This weekend they will be at UCU. They are playing at different universities just to get the game closer to the people out there. And basketball is a sport that identifies a lot with that age group. Between 18 and 25, a lot of the youth identify with it. Some of us are past our youth, but we identify with sports, so there's no excuse. We just have to stay with the game.
I think basketball also doing well, and a couple of years ago, rugby also doing that. So we are getting there. FNL is one of the events that brings people together. So I know the game will definitely be better next year. Now, I've heard lots of things about this, the Manchester Derby, and of course the underdogs, Tubamani. People are going to slaughter me here. But what do you expect tonight?
First of all, Manchester Derby are supposed to be title deciders, even in the years when Manchester City had the money, but this isn't, because Man United are 7th and Man City are fighting for the league title. And this is one of their 3 games in hand. Man City to catch up with Chelsea, and if they win all their 3 games in hand, they'll be 3 points clear at the top. So they'll go to Old Trafford knowing they need to win. They need to win.
It's a must win.
And then United know they can't lose. So in that kind of sense, United have won 2 games coming into this. They won against Olympiacos, then they went and got that result over the weekend at West Ham when Wayne scored that blind of a goal from the center, and I think also the goalkeeper was as bad as he could be. He just went the wrong side and then tripped over himself.
Let's give it to Wayne Rooney, guys. Come on.
Yes, I want to give it to him first. Yeah. But City was the favourites. How do they push the button and press on their advantage? They've got to go there and play attack-minded football. Yaya Toure scored a hat-trick over the weekend. I'd love to see him continue in this kind of sense, because without him and with Sergio Aguero injured, it's going to be up to how much Toure can do. City will want to dominate the midfield. Fernandinho, Toure, between them have been very good this season, and David Silva. I find it a bit of a problem what kind of team David Moyes will choose. If you remember over the weekend, he didn't have any of his defenders. He didn't have Patrice Evra, he didn't have Nemanja Vidic, he didn't have Rio Ferdinand, John Evans and Chris Smalling. So he had to use a makeshift backline. with Phil Jones and Michael Carrick. So I'd love to see what it does at the back, and if it changes and goes in with the same back line, he's in for a hiding. And I'd love to see who he chooses in the middle, and whoever he chooses in the midfield is that Manchester City have a better midfield, but probably they have not been scoring as much without Aguero as they did probably at some time during December. But it should be an interesting game. City know they can't afford not to win. They have to take the 3 points.
For them, it's a must win.
It's a must win.
They are doing well. They have 3 games in hand. Wow.
If Arsenal had 3 games in hand, would they win the league?
Don't ask me such questions now.
Because they host Swansea tonight.
Swansea na FC Nyambo.
But after 6 goal route, Arsenal should have.
Should wake up.
Yeah, should wake up.
Should wake up. Well, of course, also news coming in from the Champions League about one section of the Allianz Arena being closed when that game happens, following the anti-gay bash when Bayern was hosting Arsenal. Well, catch Isma, Lumansi and Alan later on Omomori as we talk about that, and Sports Bar, 10:30 p.m. Coming to you from Club. So let's head to our African proverb. Good morning. Patience is the mother of a beautiful child.
Too many proverbs possible with the word beautiful these days. I don't know if it's Mabel chooses them.
No, I did not choose this African proverb.
Yeah. That's quite a disclaimer. That was quick. That was
but I think patience being the mother of beauty, I think beauty is not really about...
But it's a beautiful child.
Yeah, I think beauty is inside. And you can see if someone is... I think someone's beauty comes out more with their character. And if someone is patient, that's a good character trait to have. So I don't know. It's also a complicated one.
Yeah, it's quite complicated, by the way. Try to think it through. It doesn't just come off.
Now, just seeing you looking at neighbor and wondering whether
her
mother is patient or...
And the first thing I thought patience is supposed
My mother is Mercy, actually.
Right.
That's her name.
Okay.
So we could actually name her Patience Mercy.
Okay, this is...
Because it's a beautiful child. Okay. Patience.
Who is beautiful? Neighbor or...
Okay,
we are back. Let's go. We'll catch you tomorrow for yet another exciting edition of Morning at NTV. Our platforms are open: Facebook, Twitter, and the SMS platform. We'll see you tomorrow. Hasta la vista, baby.
NTV, turning on your world.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable. As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Men.
These, for the longest time, have been the source of a lot of issues in relationships. Can they be used for the betterment of relationships?
Sometimes it will not help you. Other times you're not prepared for what you're going to find. Infidelity can occur, but don't dwell on it.
dwell on what's positive about the relationship. Don't worry about, oh, where was she last night? Ask yourself, what is good about the relationship now?
For me, it's just really just like knowing which of your dudes around you can trust. Because you just cannot trust this guy. You know what, hanging out here with... Then don't hang with him. And then next time he's like sending your chick dick pics. Join us this Wednesday on Men as we look at technology in relationships. Who knows? You might even learn about a certain app.
Men.
Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Sinazaliwa zemmanyi nti Mukama gwe wammanya kaziba enviiri zennira ku mutwe gwange zemmanyi nti Mukama wazibala kino kize bwe ndaba ompadde obulamu kubanga bafa sebo ndaba bangi Mukama kankuwe kino ekirabo gwe mutima ngutunze gy'oli kantunde omutima gwange weeyo gy'oli Yesu Mukama omanye byange Mukama Mukama bwe magambula onyame ondage ekkubo Mukama ensobya ensenebenenya bwenkola ensobi nga baseka tiraba omulokole o taata kyemmanyi nti ommanyi omutima jangu onkyuse Mukama gwe gwenkabira ensero bwe ndaba obandenya wazira gwe Mukama kyoyagala yagala mutima nakuwaki gwe Mukama eyanfiira nze kankuwa omutima sebo gugula ogutwale kantunde omutima gwange weeyo gy'oli Yesu Mukama omanye byange Mukama Mukama we magambula onyame ondage ekkubo omutima gwange weeyo gy'oli Yesu Mukama gw'omanya ebyange bagambula onyambe olage kubo
Dala wafana notya gwe yatonda eggulu buli kimu kye watonda kyewuunyisa laba ebire kale gye wabiteeka ayi ssebo ekitiibwa kigwanira ggwe
ekiro obudde nga buzibye omwezi ne gwaka n'emmunyeenye ntunula ne ndaba nga byute esusse gwe abikola ekitiibwa kigwanira ggwe
ogulumizibwe omutukuvu watudde kuna mulonde takoma oyimusibwe wasana ekitiibwa nange nkozesa eddoboozi lino okusinza
weewuunyisa sebo weewuunyisa olaba ebitayogera bikuulira weewuunyisa
olagira obudde ne buziba olagira omwezi ne gwaka weewuunyisa mukama byokola awatali mpagi wawanika enjuba mbuza wateekawa ebiwujjo mwezi gy'omuka gwenzisa kale mazima libaani bwennyinza okugeraageranya ku ggwe nga mu maanyi g'ossebo ate ye gwe yamwetondera mukama taliyo Noa wamuwangaza emyaka 95 naye yadde yawangala yatuuka nakaddiwa n'afa naye gwe oli omusebo atafa tena takaddiwa waliwo
togenda nange sijja kugenda nonedda olugendo lwange si lwangu ompanirire mpulira nseerera abalabe bange nabo bangi bateesa bagala kulaba nga nemererwa saala yange kati genda nange mu magenda gange otusse mirembe bwe yatya olutalo yakwegayirira Mukama ogende naye omuyambe abalabo basanyewo otyo wakkiriza Mukama wagenda naye mu ntalo wamuwanguza kyensaba nange Mukama genda nange Mukama ebizibu bifuse ebizibu mu magenda gange ebikemo bingi mu lugendo lwange eno gye mpita omuyaga mungi eno gye mpita mpanirira saba Mukama ompanirire entuuka eyo gy'oli abakwesiga Mukama balinga olusozi Sayoni kati kangende nawe nje ngenda natuuka Mukama ompanirira onyambe sama Mukama ompanirira ontuse mirembe byangu okutuuka wendi ntunula nendaba omuyaga mwempise kubadde kutuyana natuuka n'okwejjusa nti lwaki nazaalwa nga ndabye ebintu kyeva nkwegayirira eno gyendaga genda nange amaanyi bendabye mu sseeno yekubayambye omusaya kusaba omuyambe ogende naye wakati muddumu wabanga naye kati nange bwentyo kati noono musumba wange naye bwasaba nti ze kati byendaba mu nsi mpulira mbitidde nabateyagaso oyo Mukama mpisewa kati mu lugendo lwange aninza nanyamba genda nange genda nange
tata nono muyambe noyo muyambe omusumba waffe anyoleka pyata mwanyina sono azambe kadali azala balongo esekutye bakirize bamama baffe basimbira mayumba babulaza baffe mu kanisa bateeke mu kintu eyo ku mirimu gyaffe tubale faranga otuyise mu muliro Mukama tusomosa mayengo mu mbeera zaffe otuyimuse eyo gyetusula Mukama tukolere birungi
naomba Baba msaada wako nifike kwako mbinguni wakuambia wewe mimi siwezi adui ni wengi wamezidi huku njiani safari ni ndefu na pia inachosha natamani msaada wako nifike salama mkono wako uwe nami katika safari Baba naomba uwe nami usiniache Baba naomba uwe nami usiniache
okuva mu buto bwange nakumanya Yesu ekyamagero ky'obulamu bwange for sure gwe manyi banjigiriza nti ebyange birimu ggwe essuubi okwagala okuganja mbeera era nzikiriza nti yankumba n'ebiseera ebyenzikiza talina ssente zansaba wabula byenjagala bimpa alina remoti y'obulamu bwange kamwebaze essanyu ly'obulamu bwange leka nkubite Sirabije kwe mandaba wankonyola
NTV.